Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about some hardware techniques. As an IoT developer, you oftentimes are doing things other than just writing code. So a common thing that we have to do is soldering, and in this case I have to do some desoldering. And I have to do it on this board right here, which if you look at it, it could be a little intimidating and it might suck. And we're going to find out just how bad that is. So if you look at this board, for scale, here's a pen. I've been told by our EE that I've got to remove 2 resistors on this. It isn't working properly, and I've been told that if I remove R2 and R3, which are resistors, it should be easy. Now, it's kind of difficult to see on this, and I don't know that it's going to want to focus for us. But these components here, these are surface mount components, often called their jelly beans. These are resistors here, so what I need to do is I need to look around on the board and find ones that are marked R2 and R3. My eyes generally are not good enough to be searching around on one of these, at least not without a bit of strain, so I tend to use a loop. And so let's see if we can actually get it to focus with this. So you can see here we have R7, 8, and 12. But right here, if I can get light and focus and everything, they're sideways here, but you can see this is R3 and R2 there. If I rotate it where it was right side up, then it's in the shadow of this connector. So I have to remove those 2. Now, one option, especially with surface mount when you're putting them on, is to use a hot plate. Unfortunately, that's not going to work here because this already has these connectors on it. So what I'm going to do is use the soldering iron, and nicely, at least it's got these headers, I can put it on this and it's easier for me to manipulate. The other thing I'll need is I've got a pair of forceps. Now these are nice because these are, in I guess relay terms, normally closed. I add force to open it up. So what I should be able to do is reach in here and get a hold of it. So now it's holding onto it. And then my hope is I can get on there with a soldering iron, heat up just this component, get the solder to flow, and pull them off. So let's go over to the soldering iron and see how this works out for me. It's a bit of a mess, but you can see if you're doing hardware work, you're going to need some sort of a soldering station. I've got a hot plate here. We'll talk about using one of those probably at a later date. It really isn't necessary for a lot of what you do, and you won't need it today. What I'm going to need is this here. I definitely recommend using a good soldering station. A Weller or something like this is really nice. Basically, you want something that you can adjust the temperature and that you have an external iron and stand for it. So that's what we're going to use today. Let's see if we can get the components off of this. I've got the heat cranked up pretty high. I'm going to wait for the tip to heat up a bit. Basically, I want this to be hot enough to melt solder. So I could just use the solder here, and you can see it's nice and hot. So I'm going to clean the tip off. Then we'll see if we can get on here with these forceps and heat it up. I'm applying heat right at the top, kind of middle of the resistor, hoping that the heat will carry over and detach it from the board. Try maybe at an angle. Let's see if we can get it a little more heat onto it. Of course, I've got this big component in the way, so I can't come in and lay flat. Well, I'm successfully melting the screw terminal. Seems about all I'm doing. Well, it doesn't seem to be wanting to come off. What I'm going to do is, I think I'm having a hard time getting heat from this point transferred down. So I'm going to change to this. I use this for putting heat set inserts into 3D printed stuff, but since it's got a nice square blunt end, I'm hoping I can put it like this, you know, square to the component and heat it up. There we go. Now, let's see if we can get it. That's the tininess of what we're trying to remove. You can see I did get this one off right here, but I still have to get this one. Now another option you can always try, especially on something like this, it's over by the edge and it's in a pretty good location to get to for access. Always try to get a hold of it with something like these. You can see that came right off. And of course, yes, that does destroy that little component, but it's not like I was going to reuse it. I can't solder those things by hand. So there you go. I have successfully desoldered these two components here. There were resistors. Now, the next thing to do is to power this back up and see if it fixes the issue that we were having with it. That's all I've got for today. Thanks for watching.